nonetheless, because I want to talk about this Rachel Nichols situation. Now, I wasn't going to make a video because I assumed that what I want to say and my opinion would have already been expressed by somebody else by now. I'm sorry, I have my leg up on the table. It's all very professional over here, trust me. But I figured somebody would have already said what I want to say, so there's no reason for me to say anything. But so far, I haven't seen anybody say what I was going to say. I feel like online discourse is so boring now, because everybody just defaults to their normal, like, academic words. Like, it's white fragility, it's white allies, white tears, white this, white the caucasity of it all. Like, we're all talking in the same way. Well, I'm not talking like that because I don't use those words, because I just feel like it's weird that academic speak has just infested our national discourse, and we just can't get away from analyzing situations just through that one lens. So my interest in this is from the power part, like who has power, what do they do with it, what are the ethics, character, all those kinds of things are what really interests me about this situation, and that's what I haven't seen really be explored here. So full disclosure, I am not, well, first of all, I used to have a sports blog back in the day, but then I didn't have time for a side gig because I took a job writing speeches for the First Lady and for some political appointees and the Obama administration. So I quit my sports blog and all that stuff. And then later the past 2 years, I was just off the internet pretty much, like, totally. So I'm just getting caught up. I have no investment in ESPN. Don't care what happens over there. Don't care who does what. It has nothing to do with me. Although, shout out to George Sedano. I love him. He's my fave. Protect him at all costs. But for the most part, like, I have no involvement here. So I'm just, like, getting caught up and giving my opinion. So as I understand it, Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor, they're both analysts for ESPN. They both do some NBA stuff. They're both hosts and they both do sideline. It seems to me that Maria Taylor is a little bit more of a jack of all trades. It seems to me like you could just place her anywhere and she could succeed wherever. Rachel has been around a long time, and she's like 47, 48. So, that's like really the time where you start to age out of sports. They start to push you out. And Maria Taylor is young. She's model-esque, she's beautiful. She seems to be a person who's like very, very, very likable. So it's not a surprise to me that if ESPN would want to like, promote her throughout the company as one of the bigger faces there. So Rachel comes from, as I understand it, a very powerful, Hollywood family. And she's been around like 25 years. So that means she has a lot of reputational goodwill built up, as she should, right? So last year, she's on the phone while she's in the bubble. She's talking to one of LeBron's right-hand men, Adam Mendelsohn, I think is how you say his name. And this guy is a strategist and a crisis communicator, which I also am. So that's another angle in this story that I'm interested in. And they get to I guess she's trying to book LeBron or something like that. But anyway, they start to talk about her career and how she feels like she is getting pushed out in favor of a Maria Taylor through this backdrop of Black Lives Matter. And perhaps this is for diversity reasons, that Maria's just zooming up that chain and could possibly replace Rachel. And so she is on her work equipment. It gets downloaded, so she doesn't turn it off, and it gets downloaded, uploaded to the servers. And a black girl named Kayla Johnson, and Maria Taylor's black, Rachel's white, a black girl named Kayla Johnson, she gets access to it and she provides it to someone. I don't know if she sends it to Maria management, who I don't know what happens. And then Deadspin writes an article at that time that says they got 4 minutes of the video and that someone secretly recorded Rachel in her hotel room, basically invoking what happened to Erin Andrews back in the day, where she really was a victim of an assault. Deadline ran with this headline. For what we can see in the article, there's absolutely no reason to assume that this was a creeper situation, right? So before we even find out any of this, Rachel is already getting the benefit of the doubt as a victim of a secret recording, right? So this is all set up. So this is the backdrop. And the fact that this was around the time when all the Black Lives Matter protests were going on and NBA players were being forced to care about this, no shade, but it was all very, very, very forced, then Rachel's thinking ESPN has to do something to appease black people, and I'm going to pay the price, Rachel communicates to him that she is feeling the heat, and then he gives her advice. Again, this is a guy who is very powerful. I read that LeBron is about to be a billionaire. So he's right hand to God, basically. And like I said, he's a crisis person and a strategic guy. And he basically tells her to sow discord within that motherfucker. Like, they going for the black and you go for the gender. Tell them that you are pitting two women against each other. So he's giving her advice, which this is already, I can't believe that the power dynamic again is not being discussed, because this is not two homies chopping it up after work that has no impact on anybody. She has a right to talk to her friend. This is not that. This is not that. Okay, this is two very powerful people having a conversation about how one person can presumably stay in power, but also if she has the relationship with, you know, LeBron's team or whatever, then she is also in a position to be favorable to them more so than Maria, who might look at it and be like, well, I want to be, you know, more fair or whatever the case may be. So these two are helping each other. These two are helping each other. And also, some of you were commenting and saying, oh, it's, you know, so messed up that he made a joke about Black Lives Matter. Because at some point in the conversation, he says, oh, between Black Lives Matter and Me Too, I'm exhausted. And you guys were kind of focused on that part. But what stuck out to me is that these two people are close enough that he knows that despite the fact that she's a woman, he can make a Me Too joke and she's not going to be offended by that. I'm not saying she should be offended. I'm saying that he doesn't have to guess about whether or not she's going to be offended. He already knows that she is, and he can say whatever he wants to say to her. They have that relationship. Okay, so again, this is not two innocent people. This is two multimillionaires talking about how to navigate the biggest sports entity in the world. Okay, that's what this is, and that's the thing that I feel like people just kept missing. The other thing that you're missing is that if this is the guy that books that you have to work with to book LeBron or to talk to him, I didn't hear anything in that conversation where Rachel was like, you know, I just want to make it clear, I don't have an issue with Maria. Love me some Maria, Black Girl Magic, we love it. But, you know, I don't want you to hold this against her or anything. There's no conversation like that. So what that signals to me is that if Maria has an idea at ESPN and Rachel has an idea at ESPN, then Adam needs to know, you don't go for Maria's idea. Like, make sure that you don't do anything to help Maria further squeeze me out. It just feels like this unwritten sort of thing. And that's what, you know, rich and powerful people do. They're always a scheming and a scamming. Like, that's how you get and you maintain power. And like I said, I'm a crisis person too. So the type of advice that she is getting for free 99, okay, is something that somebody else would have to pay for to strategize around their career. So she already has greater access. Can Maria call this man on a Tuesday afternoon and get advice about how to navigate ESPN? I highly doubt it. So this is not innocence happening. And also, ESPN is a journalistic outfit. They knew that when Deadspin posted that reckless headline about a creeper in Rachel's hotel room for an entire year, they have allowed that article to stay up. They have never said, hey, Deadspin, I can't tell you what's going on over here, but you got to take that down, because it definitely wasn't a creeper situation. Like, she accidentally recorded herself. So that's not what happened. And they don't even have to tell her that, but like, you're letting this article stay up when you know it's not true. You know it's not true. So that was another ethical part that I feel like people very much glossed over, ESPN's responsibility in allowing a narrative to form where Rachel is a victim before the real story ever comes out, right? And obviously with this, as far as we know, the only person who has been punished in this situation is Kayla Johnson, the person who got access to it and provided it to someone. They made her so uncomfortable, as the story goes, that she ended up leaving. Well, this is the other thing that you guys aren't understanding, which is when Kayla Johnson risked her career at ESPN, she wasn't just risking her career at ESPN. She was risking her career in sports in general. Because she has somebody from LeBron's team, she's the one that exposed it, probably misuse of access of information or whatever a company would probably call it based on experiences I've had. They get on you about that. She has LeBron's team on tape saying some bullshit. So LeBron can make a call to anybody and say, don't hire this girl. She out here trying to bring my whole operation down. So Kayla Johnson didn't just risk her job at ESPN. She risked her job in sports, her status in sports, everything when she provided that video to someone. I want to make that really clear. And I feel like social media has like kind of skewed things in a way because we look at rich people and celebrities like, oh, they're just like us. No, they're not. Nobody who has that much more money than you is like you. Y'all have nothing in common at all. And in fact, I mean, if LeBron wanted to, he could press a button and shut my YouTube down. I shouldn't even be talking about this. I'm not saying that he would do something like that, but I'm saying I, unlike seemingly a lot of you, really do understand the power that people have, that like we are not on an equal plane here. That's really actually kind of scary thing to do. So let's not underplay the courage that it took for Kayla to do what she did, and to also be the only person so far punished in this until today when Rachel got pulled off of the final sideline and replaced with Malika Andrews. Nothing else had really happened that we know of, right? So now that we've covered the fact that Rachel gets access to this great and powerful mind, casual access, that there's a relationship there, we can go and move on to this apology, right? So this is, like I said, as a crisis communicator, this whole situation just took me out, honey.
Don't be the story. And I don't plan to break that rule today or distract from a fantastic finals. But I also don't want to let this moment pass without saying how much I respect, how much I value our colleagues here at ESPN, how deeply, deeply sorry I am for disappointing those I hurt, particularly Maria Taylor, and how grateful I am to be part of this outstanding team.
Well, Rachel, I want to say thank you.
Okay. So that apology, I call that a non-apology, okay? That was not, she did not apologize, okay? So that was like 28 seconds, maybe a little bit less than 28 seconds, right? So Rachel girl, y'all tried the hell out of it. Okay, so let's just go here, right? So first of all, I can't believe like this is like what y'all this is like what y'all watch. Like this just looks crazy to me. As a person that doesn't consume like a lot of sports television shows, like this just honestly looks crazy to me. These little tables look crazy to me. It just looks fundamentally unserious. Now, normally when someone apologizes for something on air, it's usually something that they did in the public. So they said a fucking stupid tweet, or they said something on air that they shouldn't have said, so now they gotta apologize. And in those moments, we already know what the person did and how we feel about it. Like we formed an opinion, they should apologize or they shouldn't, or we're waiting for the apology, usually is what happens. In this case, we were waiting, but this wasn't something that was done like we didn't know like far before the show aired, and we also were not a witness to what happened. We just have like the audio or whatever. ESPN knows this, right? ESPN knows that to the casual observer that is not going to read any article about this stuff, they're just probably going to read a headline, that this apology doesn't really cover anything, and it doesn't tell anybody what she did or express the gravity of the situation or what actually happened. She just says, I disappointed some people, particularly Maria Taylor. Well, is that what happened? Is that what happened? That's actually not what happened. Now, if you really wanted to do an apology the right way with ethics and integrity and all of that stuff, and not just trying to like protect the company type of thing, you would, one, get rid of these childish ass tables and chairs that you got sitting up there, put Rachel in a corner, hands clasped in front of her vagina by herself, taking responsibility by herself, no moral support, dim those lights behind her a little bit and let her take it very seriously. And then you cut to commercial. You don't go to another segment. So already, as a professional, I already know they're not taking this shit seriously because they didn't do anything that's normally professionally done. You already out of pocket. Now, to all of you looking at this, right, you have been saying this, I don't want to call anybody stupid, moronic, buffoon, clown, whatever, but this narrative that y'all have that Richard Jefferson and Kendrick Perkins were in a pickle and in a jam, and what were they supposed to do, and all this kind of stuff just shows there's some knowledge that's missing here, right? So first of all, one thing that you guys did notice, and I love that, is that Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson talked longer than she did. So I just said she talked for 28 seconds, and Kendrick Perkins immediately rushes in to save her before she can even get to the end. So she has this fundamentally unserious non-apology. It's clear she doesn't care. ESPN just wants this to go away. Like all of this is going on, and then you have the two guys jump in, which I'm ready to break this down because this is just hilarious to me. So the first thing that I tweeted when I saw Richard Jefferson and Kendrick Perkins had spoken is that these are not the people that I want speaking for me. Like, these two men are not orators, and they, again, I already used the term fundamentally unserious, but they are the epitome of fundamentally unserious people. So I wouldn't want them to speak. These are not people that you would choose to speak in public. So they are here for a reason, and it has nothing to do with what they can really like bring to the table in terms of context or anything like that. They're not here for their intelligence, okay? They are not here for anything like that. They are here to make sure that people understand that the black woman is mad about this. The black men are not mad about this. And Kendrick Perkins starts out saying, Rachel is a good person. So already he's sowing doubt. He's saying, Maria, okay, girl, you mad about whatever, but let me just tell y'all, Rachel's a good person. I don't know what she's talking about. No clue what she's talking about, right? And to an outside observer, when you're looking at these three people here, you see, Rachel, and, she seems unproblematic, and you don't really know what all this is about. And those black girls, they're always on Twitter. They're just so mean. One day I went on there and they was yelling at me. So maybe she did a little bit something, but those black girls, they love to overreact. And then Richard and Kendrick, and they just got put into, they had nothing to do with it. So let's back up. Last year, when all those celebrities, when they're quarantined, they can't stand to be out of the public eye for 2 seconds, so they were always on live doing interviews, talking to each other and stuff like that. I listened into an interview that I'm still smacking my leg, I'm sorry, but I listened to Richard Jefferson and LeBron talk. I'm not a super observer of LeBron. I'm a big fan, but I don't pay attention to what he does that much. And Richard Jefferson, I'm sure somebody has the video somewhere. I couldn't find it. But Richard Jefferson made a joke about like, I can't say something because I'll get fired. It was something to that like effect. And LeBron says, they can't fire you. You're my friend. And not a giggle, not a smile, not a laugh, not a joke. I'm sure somebody has a video somewhere. I heard this with my own ears, and I was like, are they really close like that? So I start Googling and I go, oh my God, like this is a real live like friendship. Like these two guys are close. That's interesting. Like I wouldn't have paired them up like to be that close. So it's cool, whatever. But knowing that and looking at this apology, you can see that Richard Jefferson is not there in a pickle. Richard Jefferson is there because he is on LeBron's team, the same side as Adam, and he wants this to go away too. Why wouldn't he? Because if this just like, we can get this out of here, if I can use, who I am to help Rachel like get this going off of her plate, then that means nobody's going to bring up the fact that, LeBron and people I'm affiliated with have somebody in charge or more than a vote that is supposed to help black people. And he's laughing about Black Lives Matter and all this kind of stuff. Like they want this off their plate too. So Richard is not there to like in innocence. Like that's just such a silly thought. And especially to, again, speak longer than Rachel, that is very deliberate. And again, showing the Caucasians that only the black girl is upset about this. Like, I'm not upset. Kendrick Perkins is not upset. Now, let's talk about Kendrick Perkins. Again, he is not in a jam here, okay? Now, full disclosure, I do not like this man. I do not like this man. I've never liked him. I don't like any of those Boston Celtics. They act like they won 6 championships. They won 1, and they will not leave us the fuck alone. They've been harassing us ever since. Oh my goodness. Make it go away. And if somebody would have told me that Kendrick Perkins would be pretty much like the biggest or premier voice for retired NBA players, I would have told you, I know you fucking lying. I know you fucking lying. Kendrick Perkins is not going to be on anybody's TV every day talking about a goddamn thing. But guess what? He is. Now, when Kendrick first came on TV, I found this really interesting because I'm an observer of media stuff. And for the most part, when players get their first gig on TV, like their first permanent gig, like they really sign the contract and they're really doing this media thing now. They sort of are like looking at the lay of the land, and they're not like hopping out with a bunch of controversy. Typically, we tend to think that they do that, but it's not really true. And you can see, if you just pick a particular athlete that you kind of want to look at their trajectory, you can see that the vast majority of times people start out really fun and light and, maybe a little bit of, dropping, information from their playing days. But as the clout builds, and they get more and more and more attention, they become clout demons. And then if they get even more attention as being clout demons, then they become clout goblins, and we've lost them forever. And you know, a lot of athletes have fallen into that trap, usually on like the NBA side, and I've seen some baseball guys do this too. NFL, I mean, they're a little bit different. But to use an example, like when Charles Barkley first started doing media, like he wasn't like so outrageous, and then he kept getting attention, and then he goes on TV and throws Michael Jordan under the bus and says something that doesn't need to be said at all. And this is his lifetime friend. Their relationship never recovered. Then you look at somebody like Shannon Sharpe. I've been a fan of Shannon Sharpe since probably before, well, maybe around the time Hard Knocks, where I really understood his personality when he was on the Ravens, and I was like, oh, you know, he's so fun. Shannon Sharpe had been on CBS for a few years. A lot of you probably don't even remember this. And when he was on CBS, people always complained about him. I don't know if this is why he wasn't signed, like renewed at the end. But people would complain that they don't like the way he talks, they don't like his accent, they don't know what he's talking about, he has a thick tongue, you know, this, that, and the third. I mean, CBS mentions would be filled up with NFL watchers every day, like, you have got to get Shannon Sharpe off my television. So he didn't get renewed, so he goes to Undisputed, and the first year or whatever of Undisputed, he wasn't doing anything too crazy. But then the attention got to him. Now he'll do anything. He's on TV with his shirt off, Hennessy bottle, smoking cigar. I can't even watch. He's reading fake tweets, won't apologize. I mean, it's just a debacle. It's like a person that I would have never thought that he would become, but it happens over time, right? Kendrick Perkins, the first week that he's on his job, he decides to just throw up like the big joker and go on TV and basically say Kevin Durant's a bitch. Like, you just got here. You just got here, and you have known this man for however long. Y'all probably met each other's families. You know, you've experienced a lot of success because of him. Like, when you went to that team, ruined my game viewing experience many a nights. And the first thing that you do is you know that people are giving this man a hard time for all of his decisions and people not liking his personality and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And you get on TV like your first week and you say, hey, all of y'all are right. This man sucks. And then you go further and say he's not the best player to ever play in Oklahoma. I mean, like Kendrick, it stuck out to me very much so, because what it said to me is that Kendrick Perkins is determined to keep this job, and he doesn't care who he has to fuck over. He is going to, because when you do that, you're letting me know that you'll do anything. Like, you jumping out the gate, you don't have any cards left. So keeping that in the back of my mind, last night, a young lady held a spaces to talk about this, and Perk goes in there. And, you know, to be fair, the young lady, she sounded very young, but she was very emotional. She wasn't making any points, so I just couldn't even take it anymore. But Kendrick Perkins was in there sounding foolish as usual. But what stuck out to me, and like I said, having this Kevin Durant thing in my mind, is that Kendrick Perkins kept saying, I'm not obligated to risk my job for anybody but Vanity. That's his wife. And he said it like 4 times. I wasn't in there the whole time, so I assume he probably said it more times after I left. So knowing that thing and this thing, it's giving poverty. It's giving poverty. It's giving, or obsessed with attention. I don't know, but there's something going on in Kendrick Perkins' life where he would do anything to keep this job. It's all he cares about. It's literally all he cares about. And he made that very clear. Which is interesting to me because, again, Kayla Johnson, you know, Kendrick Perkins has made a lot of money over the years. He ought to be a multimillionaire. And he's saying, oh, what can I do? And Kayla Johnson, I don't know how much people get paid to do these shitty sports jobs that I would never fucking do. But I know it's not multi-million. Maybe she gets paid $100K or something like that. But she was ready to risk it all to stand by somebody if she needed to. And Kendrick Perkins, I love America, where we have all these powerless multimillionaires. Just throw your hands up. I don't know, got all this money, still can't help you. It's weird. Again, it's giving poverty. So Kendrick Perkins is not there because he, you know, is in a jam or whatever. He's there because he wants to be there. He's like, I want to keep this job. Just tell me what I got to do. I'll say whatever I need to say. I'll cover for whoever I need to cover for. Facts. And that's what happened. The other thing about just looking at this, like they're just like the victims or whatever, again, with Adam being a crisis person, it's difficult for me to believe that Adam did not get on the phone with everybody involved in this jump apology and help them strategize around how it was done. Like I said, there's a few things they did here. They buried it within a segment. They didn't clear the set. They didn't explain what actually happened. They had Kendrick and Richard Jefferson there to make sure that you understand that that black people are not mad about this. That's a lot of ganging up on Maria Taylor. That's a lot of ganging up on her. And then more ganging up when Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes put in their 2 cents. And again, saying, Rachel's been so good to us. Rachel, she's a good person. Again, sowing doubt. Because this isn't about whether Rachel is a good or bad person. This is about the fact that she did something wrong. However you feel about her character, this is not about that. And it also stuck out to me, again, being a crisis person, is that, like, if I take on a client, right, I'll say, so the first day, we're going to go over the story. Like, what did you do? Like, what's your whole side of this? And who else should I be talking to understand, like, what are the sides of this situation? But after that, we sit down and we say, who do you know? Who do you know? Who is willing to speak for you? Who owes you a favor? And who would you not mind owing a favor if they're willing to agree to speak out for you, right? So I'm going to give me your phone, and I'm going to take all your contacts. I'm going to put them in a spreadsheet, and we're going to mark each person by what they might be willing to do, right? And so it could be anything. It could be like, you went golfing with this person 2 years ago. So on Thursday, I'm going to get them to post an Instagram that says Throwback Thursday, back to, golf. They don't even have to say anything about what's going on right now. We're just signaling to people that you're not a pariah. Like, you have plenty of support. There's people who will vouch for you. If somebody is, more close to the person, then maybe we get them to do a tweet, whatever it is. So I'm not saying that this was organized per se, but I know that's done. And I can't really figure out why else a bunch of men would feel the need to corral around somebody in a situation where the harm was done to one person. And that's the other thing that was sneaky about the apology and the whole setup of it, where she says, I've disappointed people, in particular Maria Taylor. I love working with all of my colleagues. So this is a joint. It's portraying it as though, like, this is something that happened to many people. Like, this was just an error toward, her company and her status in general. Like, this wasn't you possibly trying to take this person's career down, and who else knows what else you said things to. Like, this isn't just on you. This was a group effort. It honestly looked like Perk and Richard Jefferson, like, they looked, guilty up there the way that she did. So I just wanted to point that out, that the whole they're in a jam thing is dumb as shit. It's dumb as shit. Like, this was very intentionally planned, and, just understanding the way that things work. It wasn't a coincidence that they were up there, and it wasn't a coincidence that they talked longer than her. Like, that was planned. I'm trying to think if there was something else that I wanted to say about it. Like, first of all, I hope Kayla Johnson has landed on her feet, and that she does land on her feet. But I guess my thing is this. Looking at things through a naive lens just doesn't work for me at all. When you're working with powerful people, people are angling, and they're trying to keep their success. They're trying to keep their access to power. And in my opinion, to wrap this up, I just think that Rachel accessed her power in a way that was pretty diabolical. And her having the right to do it, or, oh, well, I guess everybody needs to make relationships, that's not like negating the fact that she was showing poor character in that moment. The thing that made me want to make this video was just reading all the stuff in NBA Twitter was a little bit annoying to me, because like I said, I've been off the internet for 2 years, so I just came back 6 months ago or something like that. So I'm all getting caught up. But NBA, the people who tweet about NBA and the media NBA, it has just changed so much, where everybody used to complain about these journalists are dishonest because they have to have access to the athletes, and all of us smaller podcasters and YouTubers and all this stuff, we're just building our platforms. And so, if we were doing that stuff, then we would do it all the way different. And maybe that was never true, but it's certainly not true now. it's certainly not true now. And I really feel like on some level, like LeBron and Kevin Durant kind of like ruined NBA Twitter because they went in them chat rooms showing feet. And it seems to me that like the NBA space of like, you know, discussing issues like this is sort of corrupted by that way, because everybody is basing their opinion the same way other people are basing their opinion based on their identity. I'm a black woman, you're a white woman, I'm white, you know, whatever, that type of thing. Now it's sort of like your opinion is based on, well, who sees LeBron's feed, who sees KD's feed, who ain't seeing no feed, but they feel like they should be seeing feed. And I think that just got in the way of those spaces last night, because nobody wants to attack like the power, like part of it. Like you just want to talk about, oh, you know, white privilege, you know, whatever, like that. Okay, because that's safe to talk about now. Like it's just funny how the conversations change. Because 5 years ago, if you would have been talking about white privilege, that wasn't really like a comfortable conversation. But now people just throw that out there, whether they believe it or not, because that's something you can say to just say, yeah, I understand this issue. But it was clear that people either didn't understand it or they didn't really want to talk about it. And I think that's a shame, because pretty much if everybody is basing their opinions on access, then all of the thought leaders within the sports space they're like all compromised in that way, right? So that was the main reason I wanted to make the video. Like I felt like the people that are like leading conversations weren't really totally exploring it, and then I felt like, you know, just reverting back to all of those academic terms and tropes and stuff like that was just like, it was just not hitting at the issue for me. I feel like this video went on way longer than I wanted to, but oh well, what's done is done.